We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. All right. Adoption of agenda for regular meeting. Under the provisions of the Public Meetings Law of the State of Missouri, the board must adopt by roll call vote an agenda that includes the time, date, place, and tentative agenda for the meeting. A copy of the notice and agenda for this meeting was posted on Friday, February 16, 2018, at the Administration Center, 1005 Waterford Drive, Florissant, Missouri. At the same time, copies of the notice and agenda were mailed to major radio and television stations, to 3 newspapers, to all municipalities, schools in the district, and posted on the district website. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Harge, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Eaper?
Aye.
Mrs. Ponder?
Aye.
Assistant Secretary votes aye. Dr. Graves?
Aye.
Mr. Chabot?
Aye. Tonight we have 2 board members who are not present. Dr. Thurman is still recovering from her surgery. And Ms. Hogg texted me and says she's stuck in Indianapolis. So unfortunately she cannot be with us tonight. So at this time, we'll go ahead and get going with the agenda. Dr. Bland and Eric Brown come forward. Oh,
I was gonna let her read before I congratulate you. Let's let her read something.
Upon seeing the Cross Keys Robotics team on the news, Wendy Graham, Quality Assurance Content Technician for tech giant NVIDIA, arranged funding to further support the team. Students on the robotics team were in need of a field kit. Thanks to the generosity of Ms. Graham and NVIDIA, the students have received the kit worth more than $1,700. Thank you, Wendy Graham and NVIDIA, for creating opportunities for our students as they prepare for success in college and beyond. Thank you.
Hey, no problem. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Let's get some pictures here.
And we'd like to, since we have Mr. Brown here, just thank him for all of his work and extra hours. He's up there on the weekends preparing. So thank you so much for all of your work with our students.
Thank you all. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Dr. Bland, we'll have you speak about McClure North Office Manager.
So this time we have the most awesome office manager, Yolanda Adams, and Dr. Crowley, principal. Did I say Yolanda Adams? Yolanda Davis. Dr. Crowley, principal. And Mr. Arledge, assistant principal. Please come on up. She's going to sing a note for us. Does she sing? McClure North High School Office Manager Yolanda Davis has been nominated for the 2017-18 National Life Changer of the Year Award.
Yes.
And she deserves all of the recognition. Sponsored by the National Life Group Foundation, Life Changer of the Year recognizes and rewards the very best K-12 educators and school district employees across the United States who are making a difference in the lives of students by exemplifying excellence, positive influence, and leadership. Mrs. Davis was nominated by McClure North Assistant Principal and former Life Changer nominee, Mr. David Arledge, Assistant Principal. She She is an important member of the McClure North High School staff, serving 1,600 students on a daily basis. She is respected by school and staff alike, and many students approach her for guidance. She is also an important part of the school's leadership team. Congratulations, Mrs. Yolanda Davis, and best wishes on your nomination for this prestigious award.
Good pictures here.
All right, at this time, we're going to do the Ferguson Florissant School District Shared Images of Success. Each month, the communication team puts together a short presentation of district highlights. So, roll tape.
All across the Ferguson Florissant School District, students are experiencing success. With hard work and dedication comes victory. That's the story for our students at Cross Keys Middle School who competed in the Bex Robotics competition on Saturday, February 3rd. Students Drake Peters, Austin Rakers, and Ethan Calvert and their team, the Coneheads, placed in the winning alliance, which consisted of the top 3 teams of the entire competition. The competition consisted of schools within the St. Louis area and across Missouri and Illinois. But that's not all. Artificial intelligence and gaming technology company NVIDIA Corporation supported the event and provided over $1,700 in funding, as well as judges for the competition. NVIDIA was also recognized as Cross Keys Middle School Volunteer of the Year and received an award for their support. Excelling as a student is much more than receiving good grades. For Cheyenne Parson, excelling means to go above and beyond the call of homework and tests, and to win in other areas. Parsons, a senior at McClure North High School, has received the Embracing the Dream Drum Major Scholarship from Christian Northeast Hospital, participated as the team captain for McClure North High School soccer team, and performed with the Silver Strings Honor Orchestra for all 4 years, all while taking many honors and advanced placement courses and maintaining a 4.59 GPA. Parson is one of the many outstanding examples of what success looks like in the Ferguson Florissant School District. At Lee Hamilton Elementary School, the staff is using conversation circles as part of restorative practices for classroom management. The process involves students and staff gathering in a circle and having positive conversations about issues. The conversation circles are assisting in minimizing disruptive behavior of students. McClure High School Army JROTC Cadet Martrez Tarai received the nomination to the U.S. Naval Academy from Congressman William Lacey Clay. As this is just a nomination from Congressman Clay, it is one of the several steps required to be selected to attend the Naval Academy. With this step complete, Martrez is now awaiting the Naval Academy Admissions Review Board to accept him. He attended the 2017 Naval Academy Summer Session, and this should help to boost his acceptance. McClure South Berkeley juniors and seniors participated in mock interviews with various leaders from the St. Louis business community. MSB hosts mock interviews twice a school year, one during each semester as part of their personal finance course. The experience allows students to practice interview techniques and get feedback and coaching on their interviewing skills. The students prepare for the mock interviews in the same way that job candidates prepare for real interviews, by researching the company, preparing their resume, weighing the strengths they offer as a job candidate, and making sure to dress appropriately. Employers such as Boeing, the YMCA, and the St. Louis Urban League were just a few of the companies that participated. Following each interview, students receive valuable feedback from the prospective employers on their interviewing and presentation skills. This is one of the many ways that Ferguson-Florissant School District is preparing our scholars to be career and college ready. Parents and students filled the gym for Literacy Night at Airport Elementary in the Ferguson-Florissant School District. Superintendent Dr. Joseph Davis issued a 2 billion word challenge for the district at the beginning of the school year, and Airport Elementary found a creative way to introduce reading to not only students but their families as well. The Literacy Night at Airport was designed to help parents learn how to engage their children with reading. Students were able to show their parents how to take the district's Accelerated Reader Quiz, the educational tool that helps gauge reading comprehension, using the school's issued Chromebooks. Families finished the night with a pancake and sausage supper by Chris's Pancakes and a free library book for each student to take home. Strong readers make strong learners, and our airport scholars are ready. You can learn more about these and other examples of the great learning in our schools on our website and social media.
Anyone keep the lights off because we're going to go into another video at this time. So this portion of the meeting is allocated to show a short video from the Missouri School Board Association to provide a report of current activities and events that may be of interest to board members and to the community.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report for the month of February. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at how school districts can meet the health and mental health needs of students through school-based health centers. There are about 37 such school-based centers in Missouri school districts right now, with another 7 in the planning stage. Research has shown addressing the health issues of students at school can improve attendance and academic success. MSBA formed a school-based health clinic task force more than a year ago to bring together schools, state agencies, and other service providers to share successful programs and forge partnerships that might allow more students greater access to the health and mental health services they need. During a recent meeting of that task force, Paula Fields, a senior program manager for the National School-Based Health Alliance, said partnerships with healthcare organizations are essential to success.
The schools will often bring the space and work with the sponsoring community partner who brings the medical services, the behavioral health service, employs that staff and provides the coverage needed and the policies. And they work together to identify where the most needs are and to target and work towards making everyone healthy so they're more ready to learn and have their ultimate chances for success.
Fields adds school leaders must take the initiative in working with healthcare organizations to communicate their goals and needs for an effective school-based health center. One of the major education issues being considered by the 2018 session of the General Assembly is the establishment of what are called empowerment scholarship accounts. ESAs are essentially vouchers that would divert taxpayer dollars to private and home schools by allowing a 100% tax credit for contributions to organizations that would use the money to fund accounts that parents could use to pay for private school tuition and other expenses. They would cost the state as much as $25 million a year in revenue and divert funding to private schools and homeschooling parents with no requirement that the schools receiving the funds admit all students and no oversight on whether a quality education is actually provided. One of the ESA bills under consideration this year is Senate Bill 612, and a recent hearing on that bill before the Senate Government Reform Committee, MSBA President Jan Meese said the proposal is nothing more than a voucher scheme in disguise.
Embedded in Article 9, Section 1A of the Missouri Constitution is the promise to establish and fund public education. With the passage of Senate Bill 612, that promise is at risk. It will divert funds through tax credits to private, parochial, homeschools, or virtual schools that are not accountable to taxpayers.
We urge you to contact your legislators and ask them to oppose empowerment savings accounts and all other voucher proposals that have a potential to divert money away from our public schools. We will keep you updated on legislative developments again this year through our Legislative Voice newsletter sent to members via email each Friday during the session, our Twitter feed with up-to-the-minute developments through critical issue alerts, and periodic webinars. The State Board of Education now has only 3 sitting members and is still not able to conduct any official business, following the decision by Governor Greitens to withdraw and then reappoint 5 nominees to the State Board in early January. The State Senate must confirm those nominees before they can resume service on the State Board. Senate President Pro Tem Ron Richard has said confirmation hearings for the 5 will not happen until March, if at all. Senators from both parties have expressed opposition to the governor's nominees to the State Board after they acted to fire Dr. Margie Van Dieven as Commissioner of Education back in December. They were able to serve on the State Board of Education at that time since the governor appointed them when the legislature was not in session. The 2018 Early Childhood Education Program of the Year Award applications are open through April 2nd. Districts submitting applications will be judged on effective practices and innovative solutions in early childhood education, and 3 statewide winners will be announced based on student enrollment. The winning school districts this year will be required to produce a short video on their program that will be shown at this year's MSBA annual conference. The Early Childhood Education Program of the Year Award is sponsored by MSBA's foundation, Future Builders. Well, the best thing about the MSBA annual conference is you. Get your school team together and submit your presentation for a chance to present at this year's conference. More than 100 presentations by school districts are showcased at the conference and provide valuable information on successful programs. You can submit a proposal for a presentation at the 2018 annual conference through the MSBA website. The annual conference this year is scheduled for September 27th through the 30th. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Lights, please. Thank you. This portion of the meeting is allocated for the board to provide an update of current activities and events in the district that may be of special interest to board members and the community. So, Mr. Ebert, you're up.
Well, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out on such a interesting evening. My strategic update, auditors from DESE conducted an administrative review of our food service operations this month. DESE representatives visited our schools to ensure that our food service teams are serving compliant meals, completing production records correctly, observing meal counts, and reviewing other compliance requirements. Combs, Duchesne, Wedgwood Elementary, and Cross Keys Middle School were observed, and the DESE reviewer was very complimentary of our food quality presentations and operations. The food service managers and staff at these schools did an amazing job to prepare for this audit and will be recognized for their hard work this Friday during a luncheon prepared just for them by our chefs. And our annual state bus inspection will be held next week on February 27th. Our mechanics are at the bus barn and busy preparing for this inspection as we ensure that they will receive a top score. I know Jim's all excited about that, I'm sure. Other than that, Mr. Parsons, he's our Florissant rep, isn't he? And I know you go to those meetings all the time, and I know his wife, does she still teach at Commons Lane? Yes. Well, they coached my daughter Lauren in softball, and what an awesome family. The other thing is I extended an open invitation like we always do to Scholar Bowl. I had the opportunity to go over to Shane Elementary and visit over there and hand out trophies to kids. And, you know, I always say that's not what, we don't get enough of that at this level up here. You're lucky. You're always in the schools, and, you know, I applaud you for it. But it was really, really awesome. And I went home and asked my wife if we could have another baby. And I'm ready to do it again with that. Thank you.
Good evening. I have the talent management update. First, the district and UMSL team members will meet during the second week of March to finalize a model for the Grow Your Own model and mentoring process. An added element to this model will be a process for financial aid, advice, and coaching. Next, on March 12th, teachers across the district will engage in professional development around academic conversations. We will focus on teaching students 5 different academic conversation skills. These skills are highly researched and will allow all students to access grade level standards and complex text. Lastly, a team of district administrators and teachers will be heading to Washington, D.C. to take part in a STEAM teacher recruiting event hosted and funded by the Smithsonian. The multi-day professional development opportunity will involve several school districts from across the nation. The team will come back and begin strategizing around using the new learning to increase the district's recruitment of highly qualified STEAM candidates. And that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Hogstead's not here today, but I believe Terry over there is going to give the presentation on the infrastructure, the processes. Please come forward.
No, it's on the agenda.
Oh, it's on the agenda. I'm sorry, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about Derek? He's going to do, he'll do Donna.
You don't have anything.
You don't have anything to add tonight?
Yes, I can.
All right, we'll jump on.
Love to hear from you.
And then you're next. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey.
That whole, okay, gotcha. All right, Connie, you're okay.
Good evening, everyone. The district is actively working to build community engagement stakeholders in a variety of meaningful ways. February 2nd was the Go Red Day to raise awareness for heart disease in women. District staff raised $2,100 through the event. A portion of those funds will return to the district to support Help Hearthy activities in our schools. I would like to remind students and others to report any unsafe situation or rumors to a trusted adult through our online reporting tool, that's www.psstworld.com. And you can also find a link on our school website, which is fergflorida.org, or go directly to the PSST World website. Open communication between home and school is so very important. In order to help keep our focus on our vision, mission, and goals, the communication team is producing posters that you will see popping up around the district facilities and presentations around the district as well. Be on the lookout for information about our upcoming district events, including Earth Day at Little Creek on April 21st and our Big STEAM event on May 10th at McClure South Berkeley. Both of these events are part of our year's STEAM festivities and will culminate with the Little Creek 50th anniversary celebration that will be going on this fall. Remember, the district website is the location to find information for all our stakeholders, including links to many other resources, including the parent portal, menus, staff directories, and much more. I want to encourage all parents to use the patient portal regularly to stay engaged with your child's education. You will see the vision, mission, and goals among the images at the top of the district homepage too. I went to the first Scholar Bowl, and I was very amazed and proud of our schools and students that partake in that. But I'm not going to be like Scott, and I didn't go home and ask my husband for a favor. McClure High School is presenting Man of La Mancha play at James Egan Center, February 21st, first night to the 24th at 7 p.m. Advance tickets are $6, and at the door is $8, and you can call 921-5678, or you can go to the Egan Center. And these are just some of the ways that the Ferguson-Florissant School District is building connection with stakeholders and benefits for all our students. Thank you.
Thank you all. First of all, I guess I'm going to speak for Donna. Had the pleasure of working with Dr. Thurman this month and every month, and we had an opportunity. We actually have started our Students' Expectation Annual Review. We've started that, and we're off to very, very good work. It was very, very intense work. As you all know, we actually review the Students' Expectation Code every year, and there are quite a few stakeholders there, and we take a very, very deep look at practices and things that may change. So there'll be more of that coming also. The other piece we worked on this month was pre-corrects. That was part of the district initiative. We're looking at PBIS universals, and that's some very, very important work that we're doing in the district. Really, that particular strategy, it's really a preventive strategy that really takes a look at the instructional approach. How do you tackle and intervene in classroom behavior that's inappropriate? So it really is a 7-step process, and we feel that that's going to be very, very beneficial to the district as classroom teachers really engage in that work. So that's the work we've been working on in the last month and a half, and we're very excited about it. So
Thank
it
you.
will be her report.
No babies.
No
Good evening, everyone. Yesterday, February 20th, was Vernon Mitchell Senior Day in the Ferguson-Florissant School District. Mr. Mitchell was a longtime educator in the Ferguson-Florissant School District and proudly served for over 32 years. He served as the principal of Berkeley Senior High School and McClure South Berkeley High School, which opened under his leadership. Aside from his passion for education, Mr. Mitchell could always be seen riding his horses or his Honda Goldwing motorcycle. I just wanted tonight to take time to show appreciation to the legacy of Mr. Mitchell has given to the district and the many students he guided and influenced throughout his years of service. As for my report, my portion of the strategic plan is accreditation and achievement. Under this plan, we are to maintain accreditation 70% or higher and support student achievement by focusing on MSIP 5 and MAP scores, subgroup achievement, attendance, graduation rates, and college and career readiness. Sometimes I think it's important for us to re-look back at what our goals are and make sure we know what our goals are as a school district. So I just kind of really wanted to touch on that tonight, as well as we are basically supporting these goals through professional development with our staff. Grade and building level spelling champs have been announced for the district for early and middle schools. Grade level winners will face each other at 9:30 a.m. Thursday, March 1st. The district's championship spelling bee will be held at 9:30 a.m. Friday, March 2nd. Both championship rounds will be held at the Administration Center. So congratulations to all grade and building level spelling champs. And then in closing, as board members, teachers, support staff, and administrators of the district, it's important for us to remember our why and our purpose. So I was just kind of looking at our website this morning and just kind of figuring out what is our district's why. So I just want to read it to you all, because I'm not sure if everybody really know why we all come to work, why we're all sitting on this board, and why we're all choosing to be in these seats today. We believe that all our students deserve equal access to a quality education, which unlock their potential and help them achieve lifelong success. We believe successful students have a positive impact that enriches families and communities. So just keep that in mind when we do what we do every day. Thank you.
Thank you. We've had the pleasure, Jessica, Connie, Courtney, myself, and Dr. Davis went to Jeff City for MSBA's Legislative Day. It's one of the best events that we go to. It kind of gives us a highlight of what's happening, what legislation is moving through. I don't know if Dr. Davis is going to talk about any of it, but he's been keeping a track of. It's a lot of activity happening this year. I think probably more this year than last year. So it's quite informative. I do ask that you kind of pay attention. There's a lot of things coming through with charter schools. That's going to be very important to our district and even to the state of Missouri. So please keep an eye out for that. We're in phase 2 of the organizational health. A year ago we did phase 1. Now we're in phase 2. We approved it. And the phase 2 is really lucky for us, kind of focusing on the board as well as at top level administration, as well as into the schools. So it was really the first time that we as a board, evaluated ourselves and where we think we are in connection with administration. And it's also interesting to see how the school buildings think we are and how we all kind of fit into this big old puzzle. The one piece that I was most pleased with was the number that showed that we as a board actually are working pretty well together. We don't always agree, but we work through them, and I think that's really positive for the school district as we move forward, as we start tackling a lot of the big issues that are coming up, like restructuring. Just saying. But I'm really pleased to be working with this group of people. So, ever since the shooting that took place in Parkland, Florida, and I've been trying to figure out a way to talk about it, or should I talk about it? And for you who don't know, I have a sophomore, a daughter who's a sophomore at McClure. And, we talk a little bit about things that are happening in the school district. As any typical teenager, she doesn't tell me everything. But this one really hit home because she really wanted to talk about it. And honestly, I didn't know how to talk to her about it. How do you talk to a child or your daughter about something that is so evil, that rears its ugly face, and you sit there as board members, as parents, and you figure out what could we've done differently. And there's so much information that's flowing out on social media. There's there's an opinion a minute right now. And what are the true solutions to ever prevent something like this from happening? I know it's something that we as a board and administration is always focusing on. How do we keep our children safe? How do we keep our staff safe? And I'm hoping for somehow for answers to come out of it. That, to see my daughter cry about something that, and it's unfortunately it's happened before. But this one is different. And maybe through this, that some positive change can take place. I have no idea what form it's going to be. But I can tell you that we on the board, as well as everybody in the school district, doing everything we can to keep our kids safe. And for the first time today, as I took my daughter to school, I watched her walk in. And I was afraid, because you never know what's lurking in the shadows, because you can't control evil. And what we experienced and what the world's experienced at Parkland was nothing more than just pure evil. So, hopefully, and some of us were talking that maybe it's time for school districts to get together, do a reassessment of security. How are we handling students that have mental illness? What are we doing to protect our kids? Is it time to start bringing in metal detectors into our school? It's something that we had talked about a few years ago. What will it take to assure our students are safe? So probably in the next few weeks, we may be having more conversations about it. Get a report back from administration. Start thinking through this, not just as a Ferguson Florissant issue. This is every school building, every school district issue, not only in the state of Missouri, but across the nation. And apparently we need to do a lot more to keep our kids safe. So, anyways, that's it. She's out here tonight.
Mr. President, if it's okay if we could just do a moment of silence for the families in Parkland. If you would join me in a moment of silence and remembering the lives that were lost. Thank you. So I share your sentiments, Mr. Chabot, because I too have a child in our district, and it worries me all the time. I'm always thinking about what we can do differently. and how to be proactive and not just reactive. And I guess at the end of the day, you can put a tank in front of the school. It's kind of hard to stop things from happening. The best thing that we can do is to have real intimate conversations with our children, know who they are, what's going on in their heads, and have the courage to ask those hard questions, right? Because that's where the strength comes, I think, is having those conversations. Our kids are fraught with social media, and personally, I think it's it's a barrier because our kids are exposed to so much stuff. I was looking at a video this evening that was a story that was on one of the news channels, and there was a woman from the UK who was doing a presentation on children and their exposure to things like pornography at such early ages, and the kinds of issues that kids are exposed to in school at young ages. And they're having to experience some things that some of us didn't experience until we were in college. And babies are having to contend with, how do I make sense of this in my own head? And if there's nobody to talk to them in their head, then the evil stuff does, and then it manifests. So we have to, I know we often talk about social emotional learning. We gotta have relationships with our kids and figure out how to help them make better decisions, how to navigate the decisions, right? Because to me, that's the strength in it all. And among other things, prayer. So a couple things, because I know I could preach a sermon on that one too. Surveys, we were talking about restructuring a little bit. Just quickly, surveys are online. So we are encouraging the community to go online and do our survey, and that's a part of, so we're going to put a timeline out there as well. Dr. Dadali and Mr. Hampton are working on that. Operations Committee meets every Wednesday, and this is all about the restructuring process. So if you go back to December 4th, when we had that meeting over at McCool South Berkeley, and so we have some dates put out there already that will sort of give the community an idea about where we are with the restructuring process. And I think that's really important. What we're going to try to do is to respond to every, as much as we can, to the comments that we hear. And transparency is certainly as important, and communication certainly is important. So please, you can access that, and if you go on our webpage and take that survey. It's just some brief questions to give us a sense of who you are, not personally, but your role, parent, community, employee, and then what you feel about our buildings and those kinds of things. So that's going to be a very important conversation. You'll hear more about that later on this afternoon, or this evening, rather. So spring break is March 19th through 23rd. So I just want to say that now because it's a month out, but it's coming soon. And that's going to be, the whole month of March is going to be really important because it's short in a sense. And then we have April, and then certainly we have testing coming up, and that's a big part of what we do every day is to measure where our kids are, right? So the 2 billion word challenge was put out there, but I say that just to sort of underscore that the more children read, we don't ever want to get away from that. The more they read, the stronger they become. And so we have to keep pushing the value in reading. Not just reading, but reading books that they're interested in and also within their reading range. And so please encourage your children, your relatives, your neighbors, your folks at church. Encourage reading. A couple more things quickly. So we did go to the Legislative Forum on the 13th. And there are a couple of bills that I just want to mention right now, and I'd like for you to pay attention to it, and also have conversations with your representatives. We had an opportunity to talk with Core Faith Walker and Jay Mosley. In fact, Jay Mosley came over, and I met with him the Friday before we went up there, and it was really a great meeting just to be able to talk to him. He has a son at McCool North, and so there are a couple of bills. House Bill 2200 is a Schools of Innovation bill that is making its way through, and I think our Representative Rhodes introduced that. And it really is a way to think about how we can create innovative kinds of schools in our state, right? And so we're all on it already because we started the STEAM school, but we have some other ideas that are emerging with the expansion, right? So expansion in the sense that thinking about restructuring. So we have a lot of opportunities there, but the other one is the charter school bill, and there were a couple of those that were presented, but 2247 is the one that is the most recent one that Mies was talking about, and also 612, which is a $25 million tax credit bill. Let me just say what I think. You know, I was on a panel at WashU last week, and Barb Frazier asked this question. There was 3 superintendents up there. She was very poignant. She was pushing, really saying, did we support it? And I said, you know, it was hard to respond because parents want choice. But as a public school educator, it's hard for me to support anything that's going to take money away from our schools, right? And because it cripples us in trying to really do the work we need to do for children. And I would encourage everybody to, become familiar with these bills, because if they pass, then it could have a huge effect on our school district, right? The 2247 bill basically says that you have a school that has a 60% APR in the last 3 years. If a school, not the district, school has a 60 or below, then a charter could open within that neighborhood of that school. And we have 9 in our district. And we're working certainly hard to improve our performance, but the impact that would have on our district would be huge. And it would affect not only our district, but our teachers, our students, just even thinking about how that unfolds or could unfold. So I just want to put that in your purview. Same thing with that Bill 612 with the $25 million tax credit bill. If that passes, then those dollars could leave our schools and go to private schools, virtual schools, and that really scares me because they don't have the bricks and mortar costs that we do. And to me, it becomes a cash cow for some folks who are preying on that public education, because it's a huge budget across this country. And if you can get those dollars, and there's no guarantee that you're going to educate the children, and it's the kids who are most vulnerable that are the ones that pray, right? So just keep those, and we'll do everything we can to try to keep you updated as well. These aren't law; these are bills, and they've been introduced. And so when they get there, it's important for you to contact legislators and have them be educated on the points, but contact them and say whether or not you agree or not, whether you oppose or support. And we oppose those things. I can't support anything that's going to take money away from us. And then finally, I will say, I applaud the board for engaging in the OHI, because organizational health. I've had a couple of questions come from folks at the schools wondering how we plan to use the data. Let me just say publicly that the purpose of organizational health is to improve climate and culture in our schools. That's something I've often heard from teachers and people in our schools about a school morale, right? And I take a personal responsibility to it. So I ask myself the question, if people aren't happy, why not? I feel like that's a part of my responsibility and my role is how do we make people happier about where they come to work and how they feel about their work. And so you got to sort of tease apart what people are thinking and feeling. The purpose of that, the OHI surveys, is to get that data in front of us. It's like a mirror, right? Put that mirror in front of us it's really about the leader. So the board and I did it, and it's really about me and how they see me and I see them and whether or not we jive. And likewise with the board and the district, and then also the principal in the school and the staff in the school. It's not meant to do anything other than to improve culture. That is what it's for. It's not punitive. We don't plan to put that in with any evaluation. It is really about giving us a clear picture of where are we and how do we really tease apart what people are feeling so that we can do some things about it, right? Like talking about it is cheap. It's doing the stuff that improves that makes the difference. And so that's what we want to do with OHI. And I wanted to say that publicly because I got enough questions that I want to dispel any myths and put to rest any fears that people may have about that. I could say more, but I think I'll leave it there. And hey, you never know. I may have another baby.
Started something. You did. All right. The board allocates this portion of the meeting to allow stakeholders the opportunity to comment on both agenda items and non-agenda items at the start of each board meeting. Prior to the public comment period, participants are asked to fill out a comment card with their name, address, phone number, email address, and topic to be addressed, and will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. Members of the audience who wish to speak to the board are requested to speak from the podium identify themselves, and in keeping with district policies 4054, 4059, and personnel law, should refrain from making negative comments that are personally identifiable. While the board will not directly respond to speakers during the public comment period, the board president may make clarifying remarks at the end of the comment session to correct any misstatement of facts. So far, we only have one card. Ms. Mildred Kleins.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I just want to introduce myself tonight. My name is Mildred Kleins, and I am a 30-year resident here in the Ferguson-Florissant School District. I raised both my sons here. They attended the Bermuda Elementary School, Ferguson Middle School, and they both graduated from McClure High School. They're amazing young men. They're very successful, and I owe all that to me as a good parent, but also them getting a very good education. That is the reason why I actually moved into Ferguson. It wasn't because of really the city of Ferguson. I was looking for a good school district, and Ferguson-Florissant had a good reputation for good schools, and they did not let me down. I was very active when my children were in school. My last son graduated in 2006, so I've been kind of out of the loop as far as going to PTAs and things of that nature. But I am actually a candidate for one of the open seats on the school board. I want to join this amazing team because I have a lot of ideas. I went to the community forum at McClure South Berkeley, and I was really inspired. And I believe that the ideas that I have, one of the things is increasing absenteeism. Also, I just heard Dr. Davis talk about school choice. And you know, there's some districts where children and parents make a choice of where they want their children to go. And I believe that the Ferguson-Florissant School District, no matter what other choices that parents have, yes, parents want choices, but I believe they will still choose the Ferguson-Florissant School District, no matter what other choices they have, because it's like, okay, I can put them in private school or I can put them in the school district. Hey, this is an excellent school district. I want my children to go to the Ferguson-Florissant School District. I believe in this district, and I believe that I can contribute and help make this district what we all want it to be better than it is. Increasing the expectation of our children, supporting our parents, supporting our teachers, supporting Dr. Davis. I believe, and with the community as well. That's another thing. I want the community to come together and play a major part in setting our children up for success. So I just wanted to introduce myself tonight, and I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else? Ms. Hart, would you please read the disbursements?
Okay, for payroll for teacher and non-teachers, we have $7,548,313.14. For optional disbursements, we have $1,197,677.85, making a total of $8,745,990.99.
I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Dr. Walker, Summer Bridge activity books.
I thought this was a consent.
Oh, it's in the consent. I'm sorry, I did that last month too. Pardon me, sorry. Sorry. All right, Dr. Hazel, Mr. Gerald, Mr. Ford.
Be also ready.
Good evening. A senior class trip is being planned for McClure's 2018 seniors who are on track for graduation. This trip is an incentive for our seniors to fulfill the Missouri high school graduation requirements. The trip is being planned from March 16th through the 19th to the Wisconsin Dells. Mr. Courtney Ford, our senior AP, is leading the plans for this year's trip. We're bringing this to the board for information. Mr. Gerald is providing some additional information related to the itinerary.
Is there a limit of how many students would be able to go? I mean, as long as they meet the initial requirements, then they can go.
Yes.
About how many do you all have eligible right now?
Eligible versus actually planning to attend. I don't know the actual eligible number. We have a lot eligible, but the amount that are actually planning to attend is about, we're looking at the 86 students for various reasons.
And as you'll be giving up your spring break to go too?
Yes.
How's the fundraising going?
It is going well. It's ongoing. I'm happy that you asked that. I don't know if I can take this time to advertise, but this Friday we have a fundraiser at McAllister's on Lindbergh. I don't know the exact address, but it's on in Lindbergh. We get a portion of the proceeds for the day. So when you're hungry, go out and eat at McAllister's this weekend, Friday. I will be there after school hours or whatnot, and we've done this before. I take orders. I work. I clean tables. I work for the money.
Do you all have a flyer or something you can post to share?
There is one. Yes. I don't have it with me. Actually, yes, I'll just
We're sharing. It's been shared, and we'll continue to share it.
So please support it.
Do you need that flyer or a picture of it on Facebook or something? You just say.
You don't need. You just go in and you don't have to say, "Hey, I'm with Blue" or anything of that nature. It's already you get a portion of the proceeds. It's all day. It's not a certain time. So anytime they open up at 11:30 and they close at 8:30. So go twice.
Any other questions for us?
So what I asked them to put together is the packet you have, and it just has an itinerary and just some different things that are going to be going on. I met with Suzanne and Dr. Hazel as well, so that the board can be very clear on, safety is certainly always important to me, and they have put together some good packages of information, so they have every student who's going. My biggest question was, did every student who wanted to go have access, right? And so they fundraised. They've been really diligent. They did some candy sales. After follow up on that, have to know that the STEAM school, I think they said, and they got 50% of the funds that they raised from that fundraiser. And so the students were really active, and it just sent me a strong message because this is, a pretty sizable amount that it costs to take 86 students, 2 buses, hotels, entrance fees, and all that. And so from December to now, those seniors have raised. Well over $40,000. And, if you can do it in 2 months, I want 100% performance. But they're working hard on that way as well. We had that conversation also, and so I'm excited about the work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, it does?
Oh, yes.
So we have to take action? Okay. I thought so.
Oh, it does say.
All right.
Okay.
Well, shoot.
But you
Yeah.
still need it.
Action.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the senior class trip for McClure's.
So moved.
I need a second?
Second.
All right,
Second.
motion made in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
Thank you.
Walker.
Good evening. This agenda item is in reference to instructional technology for some of our schools using Title I and School Improvement Aid funds. More specifically, a Chromebook cart for Airport Elementary, for Duchesne, and 2 for Ferguson Middle School. The plan, of course, in using technology is, of course, to enhance their learning, to allow them to do 21st century skills and to do research. One of the components that we're also looking at for Halls Ferry is the SAMR training. This would be their second piece of the SAMR training, and that's SAMR, which of course stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And it allows us to look at sort of a Bloom's taxonomy of levels of training for how teachers would use technology to enhance the instruction. And that's what you'd like to step forward and
So the graphic demonstrates how we work the SAMR model and how teachers will work this model to basically get above the line, that red line, into modification and redefinition. At these 2 levels, you'll see a transition from the teacher as user of the technology to the student as a creator and developer of content. And the goal is that the teacher begins to serve a facilitative role and allows students to use technology to demonstrate their understanding and their learning. And so some examples of things that might be created are on this sheet, but I'll also add students might create movies, music, apps, or other interactive or integrated technologies to demonstrate their learning. So it is more than just a word processor or more than just a projector. It's actually students getting their hands in and demonstrating learning by creating new content.
And so our recommendation would be the purchase of technology not to exceed $33,327. And there's a correction there that there would be a $1,400 towards SAMR professional development.
I need a motion to accept the purchasing of technology for Airport, Duchesne, and Ferg Middle.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. What's it? Oh, yeah. No, go ahead.
Just a quick question. You mentioned Halls Ferry. Halls Ferry is the only one that's using this model?
No, so I mentioned Halls Ferry because the professional development that's embedded within this is for Halls Ferry that's coming up. Others have actually had training. Halls Ferry, this would be their second go round with training. They had a half-day session in September, and then they'd like to have another half-day session in March.
Okay, so are all schools using this model?
So not all schools are using this model, but this model has been, I believe 3 of our schools have actually been trained in it. This is going to be their second go round. So the reason that it's in this particular item for instructional technology is because the $1,400 covers 2 more sessions at $700 a piece through Ed Plus.
Why isn't it in all the elementary schools?
So that's definitely a possibility. This particular training is coming through their federal funds, and so they're utilizing their building Title I and building School Improvement Aid funding. But of course, with anything that we use federal funds for, when we see that it's showing improvement and that teachers are actually utilizing these supports and services to support students in the classroom, it's really something that can be expanded.
Okay, so this is just the second year we've used it?
This is the first.
Okay.
Yes.
So then we'll have data to support it, and then so next year we will look to see if we're going to use it for the rest of the schools.
Surely.
Thank you.
Is the schools that are selected, is this something they requested?
This is something they requested. Remember that their Title I funds and their School Improvement Aid funds are related to the dollars that they receive specifically in those buildings, and then they create plans based on their data. So yes, they selected this particular professional development.
Okay, because I know other schools have like local control in regards to how they want to have what programs, purchases, and so forth.
Exactly, yes.
All right, thanks. Any other questions? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Thank you. Summer Learning Program.
Good evening. The Summer Learning Program provides elementary, middle, and high school students with the opportunity to close gaps in their learning, earn credit towards graduation, and enrich their understanding of Missouri learning standards. Offering summer learning allows students to move towards proficiency and return to school in the fall ready for learning and more confident in their success at meeting rigorous learning standards. This summer, students would have the opportunity to take courses for credit recovery and credit advancement as we are seeking to open summer learning to all 9th and 12th grade students with an anticipated start date of June 6th. We're asking for, but the recommendation is that the board approves the summer learning programs, that when the application becomes available from DESE, we can submit it and begin the hiring process for teachers.
I need a motion to approve the summer learning program. Motion is made and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passed. Equal opportunity schools update.
You better go on over here. Technology is great when it works out.
Perfect. Dr. Jallo, my question. Sorry about that. During the 2016-17 school year, we partnered with Equal Opportunity Schools to increase enrollment in advanced placement courses for the 2017-18 school year. Throughout the spring of 2017, the 3 high schools worked diligently to identify and enroll junior and senior students for the current school year, as well as sophomores. And the purpose of this report is to provide the board with an update. The mission of Equal Opportunity Schools is to ensure that students of color and low income have an opportunity to succeed in challenging high school courses. The goal in partnering with school districts as we have is to provide equity and exposure to rigorous coursework for not just those students, but all students. To that end, the focus of our 3 high schools was to close the participation gap by enrolling what are called missing students based on surveys that students and staff completed last fall. In addition to closing the participation gap, we hope to see an increase in performance by students on AP exams by developing systems of support for our students. To meet these goals, each school has an equity team that works to champion AP work happening at their buildings and look at local and systemic barriers that may prevent student participation in AP courses. As you can see on this slide, we've increased our participation based on semester 1 enrollment data by 111 students over last fall. This represents a 44% increase. This slide shows performance according to spring 2017 exams that were administered. We did administer 226 exams. Most of the exams were administered in the ELA department, social studies, and math. 42 scores of a value of 3 or higher were recorded. This is significant because the score of 3 or higher allows access to college credit, of course, to students as they transition out of high school, depending on the content area tested and the college or university that they apply to. Additionally, a score of 3 or higher, it has a higher multiplier with regard to NCIP performance and calculation of our APR. Okay. Talk about where we are now. Here's a 3-year comparison of fall enrollment. I do want to note on the side that enrollment represents at least kids are enrolled at least 1 course. So our students who are enrolled are taking about 673 courses right now. So some obviously kids are duplicating the number of AP courses that they are taking. And this is a breakdown by ethnicity of enrollment across all of our AP classes. So here's how they're performing with regard to grades that were issued during first semester. This is a departmental look, if you will, so those classes are combined. For instance, there are about 64 students across the district enrolled in statistics and calculus for AP work. The majority of our enrollment is actually in the English department, in the literature, composition, and literature and language course with 360 students. The students are performing well, with roughly 77% of our students earning a grade of C or higher, and about 53% of our students are earned a grade of B or higher. To note, grade of B or higher is significant to us with regard to MSIP because it has a different multiplier with regard to APR calculations.
So let me add one thing. Dr. Jadala, go back 2 slides, if you would. That slide there. So just for the community's understanding, if you look at this particular slide, you see fall of 2016. So Equal Opportunity Schools looks at, they have what they call a benchmark group. And the benchmark group is made up of white and Asian students because they take AP courses across the country at a rate much higher than any other group of students, right? So they look at the total number of white and Asian students, middle class white and Asian students, because so white students who aren't in the middle class and Asian students who aren't in the middle class aren't a part of that benchmark group, and that's significant. So they look at that group, and at what rate do white and Asian students who are middle class, if there are 54 students taking it, how many white and Asian students are in the denominator, and they get a percentage, and that becomes the benchmark rate, okay? They take that same formula and look at the black, Hispanic, and other students, and say of that 199, that's the numerator, then the denominator is the total number of that population of students, and they look at that percentage. And what you find is that typically the benchmark group, their percentage, their rate at which they take AP classes is way higher than minority students, right? And so when you look at 2017, you can see that number for, particularly black students, went up quite a bit. It's never to keep middle class white or Asian students from taking courses. It's just trying to increase the enrollment of minority students in AP classes, because we know that kids who take AP classes and make a 3 or higher, those are college level classes. They are much more likely to go on to college and graduate, right? So when you look at that 558 number, I wanted to just call attention to that. That's significant because more minority students are taking AP classes. We want, as she said it, all of them to take more AP classes and more advanced level classes. But we got to be clear about equity. And equity is access to those classes, and not only access to those classes, but doing well in those classes. That's important. And that's why those grades, and you see those, it's just not enough for a kid to take an AP class, and make a D and then they'll do better, right? We need A's and B's. And they learn something because they make 3s or higher on the actual exam. So that data is critical because North in particular was invited to go to Chicago and present because of the efforts that they had put into closing the gap. And Dr. Crowley, I think he went and presented. That's significant because it says that the adults at the school mindsets have shifted to, there's some struggles, but kids can do it. Let's put them in these classes and then keep supporting them so that they become successful in those classes. We're not there, of course, but that's huge. I just wanted to bring that out.
I think I might be done.
Drop the mic right now.
I did have a baby at the beginning of the year.
You started us.
So you might be wondering what we're doing to support our schools. And our schools are working diligently to intervene for our students when they notice that they're struggling. And then on the next slide, you'll see some successes. I'm going to highlight a couple of things that our schools are doing. After-school tutoring is currently happening to shore up students' learning around their current content as well as test prep, so students can clear up their misconceptions and have an opportunity to finish learning that they may not yet have done on an individual basis. Another one of the highly recommended and most successful supports that is in place for some of our students is the opportunity to retake assessments in their AP courses. That is a confidence booster as well as setting kids up for success in the actual course, thus on the AP exam. Another key support that one of our schools has in place is an AP PLC that allows teachers to collaborate within their content but also across content areas because students are taking multiple AP classes. And this gives them a chance to dig into what may be challenging the students and collaboratively come up with a plan to pull them forward to success. So, Jason Donaldson from McClure High School says that the skills, strategies, and tools he learned in AP English, language, and composition were a major reason for his success and being selected as one of the 30 finalists in the Mizzou writing competition. There were almost 1,000 entries. So hats off to Jason Donaldson. Also, we had 2 students who were in the freshman honors cohort at McClure High School, and that cohort is really pushing into AP in their sophomore year. 2 of those students were selected to participate in Washington University's college prep program, and that is a highly competitive program designed to expose students early on to the collegiate expectations and experience. So we are experiencing some success as we go into this work. So here are some planning pieces that have been in place for the 18-19 school year. I will highlight under student engagement. One of our schools is doing something pretty unique and hosting an AP open house for students during the day, where they'll be able to, students that have been identified and who have an interest in taking an AP course will get to go and visit those courses during the school day and see what those classes are like and have some peer-to-peer interaction. Also have hosted AP nights in which student panel also spoke to parents and kids about the benefits of taking AP courses. Going forward, we'll continue to look for increased opportunities for professional development for our staff and ways to support our students to increase their success in AP and also continue to increase our enrollment. Dr. Davis talked a little bit about a qualifying score, and while that's part of the journey and an important part, the experience and exposure to the type of challenging content and college-aligned standards for all students is key to getting them set up for the college world or career world that they're going to experience after they leave our 4 walls. Some areas of growth to note would be looking closely at our middle school curriculums to ensure that our middle school kids arrive at high school ready for the rigor that is set up in AP, and then also looking for pathways alignment with AP courses within departments or content areas. And at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
This is for board information only, but feel free to ask questions.
Do we have a breakdown of the students by schools?
I can provide you with a breakdown with students by schools. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it was just in the post, I think, was it yesterday? It came up regarding the AP. So the numbers that we're experiencing here in our district is probably pretty on track with statewide, because they say the number of students enrolling in AP classes have gone way up, but the number of students actually passing the test is still pretty stagnant.
Yeah, and equal opportunity schools will acknowledge that as we increase enrollment, that's the first step, and then the second step, which is what we're working on this year, is putting supports in place so that things become systemic and we're not reacting. And so they will assist us in putting those measures in place so that we can begin to drive our student achievement up. And so that's a trend that's happening across the country.
So I know when this was first introduced, I'll admit I was gun shy, because when I first came on the board, there was this huge push to get kids in AP. And what happened was that the teachers were then forced to downgrade the curriculum because the students going in couldn't meet the expectation, the rigor of that class. So the students who were actually there for AP weren't succeeding because the teacher is now teaching downward. But a program like this, in order to really measure its effectiveness, you have to be honest about expectations, standards, that I'm sure you probably got calls from parents who their kid shouldn't be in AP, but they might have been calling you saying, I want my kid to be in that class, but they didn't meet the prereqs or the requirements. I mean, how'd you guys handle that?
So that's handled on a site-by-site basis. I don't know, Andy, do you?
So, but before he does, I'll say though that EOS does a lot of work from the get-go, because I always worry about us thinking kids aren't ready, because what EOS does is they do surveys in schools, right? and they get profiles, and these profiles are of students that they get information from teachers. They survey the students as well, and so they have these indicators that show whether or not this student has the propensity to do well in an AP class. It doesn't mean that they've had access to the kind of rigor that we know they need, but if there are significant adults and other factors that say this child could, then these are the students that have been identified to be going in the classes. Now, they haven't had, I've never taken an AP class because I never got anybody to, identify me for that, right? But could I have done it? Absolutely so. And so it's those pieces that are really, really important that we have to be careful on, because we got to support them in that. Now, I don't at all, and I'm glad you said this, and I've heard it from other concerns, so especially teachers, the curriculum should never be watered down. There should never be a time where we go lower so kids can pass, because you don't do them any good, right? If you make an A and you can't pass a test, then there's a mismatch in my head, not just in an AP class, but in any subject area, right? And so the rigor is really important. And now, you looked at the rates a minute ago. Quite a few students, I think it was 42 out of 200 and some odd tests that were taken that made 3 or higher. That's a low, but that's the first year in it. And like the Olympics, you have to qualify, so you got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. And after a while, what happens is that you strengthen those paths in that brain that causes you to have to dig deep. And we have many kids who haven't had that exposure. You got to keep pushing there. So those surveys are important, because we don't want to set a child up for failure either, right? Like, if we know ourselves, wait a minute now, these kids are failing everything, then that wouldn't be a good candidate. So that's why you have those surveys in there, the teachers' input, the students' input, the parents, so that if there are a couple of enough factors that say this child could be successful with the right supports, then we have to give them access to that and keep working through it. Does that make sense?
Well, everything you said makes sense. The question or the challenge I would present to the administration team is how you view it from the teacher's aspect, because I would say, relating it to my life, the number one goal I have in life is to, as far as my job, is to stay employed. So how can I put it? I'm going to tell you I'm not dumbing it down. But if there's some sort of rating that is rating me as a bad teacher because I'm not getting enough passes, well, they're going to pass. And that's just reality. I don't know. I really hope you're right. I just a thought to throw out there. There's the reality aspect of it all, because at the teacher level, if there's things in place that are going to say, well, 75% of your students are failing and you're no good or whatever, I'm going to make sure the next year 75% are passing. Now, how do I do that?
Well, and that's no good.
And I know there's no, but I know there's no,
right,
no, magic bullet. It's just, it's reality though. So I don't know what's happening. I hope it's going like you said.
If I could just make one comment about that. So I did have a teacher share a success story, and it was up on that slide, but at the beginning of the year, her students were poorly performing on assessments, in the teens, in the AP course that she was teaching. With diligent work, they were failing assessments pretty badly. I think their passing rate was like 13 to 39%. She's seen a growth of 45 to 55% increase in the number of students passing in less than one semester. And so I say all that to say our administrative teams in our buildings are doing more supporting of teachers in the work that they're trying to do. And at no point did she feel like anyone was pressuring her to get those grades up or because of fear of losing a job, but more compelled to support her kids to get them to be successful. And so if you go in this teacher's classroom, you hands down, you'll know a lot about what she's teaching when you leave, no matter how much time you spend in there. And so I just think that's a testament to the work that our administrators are doing, and if you will, the patience that they're extending to our instructional staff with really trying to see this program through and be successful. And the key piece is yes, the performance on the exam is critical, but what's even more critical is access to all standards for all kids every single day. And that's what this program is doing for our kids.
And even though the students don't take the AP exam, they still they have the opportunity for dual credit.
In some cases, yes. In some courses where we have a teacher who is also qualified by Department of Higher Ed to issue the dual credit with the college, university that we have a partnership with, yes, they can still opt for the college credit.
Good job.
It's a work in progress, right?
You bet. We'll have another superintendent on it. Do we ask Jill?
I guess you're not going anywhere, are you?
I'm not.
Taking over the meeting.
You want a chair?
No. I think this might be it. So this is the Missouri Seal of Biliteracy for board action. The Missouri Seal of Biliteracy is part of a national movement that recognizes graduating seniors who have demonstrated specific level of proficiency in a language other than English and in English for our English learners. The Seal of Biliteracy is awarded by the district according to guidelines provided by the state of Missouri and will be printed on the student's transcript upon graduation for those students meeting their requirements. The Seal of Biliteracy communicates the rigor and global awareness to future colleges and employers, recognizes the need for world and modern languages as a key component for students to compete in a global society, and offers flexibility for both native and non-native English speakers. This opportunity infuses the importance of bilingualism into education to prepare students for both college and career. Additionally, this opportunity aligns with the IB and AP work we are already doing and will set our graduates receiving the award apart from others, not only locally but nationally. So the recommendation is for the board to simply approve the application for the Seal of Biliteracy for submission to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
I need a motion to approve the application.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. O'Neill. Now, you'll talk about the new sign up at McClure North.
Thank you. Mr. Bender's here with me tonight to talk about their organization, which is MN Strong. It's a nonprofit organization made up of teachers, staff, alumni, and community members that work to dedicate improvements in McClure North for their students there. They've done several different projects at the school already that you're probably aware of, but tonight we're talking about the funds they raised for a new sign in front of McClure North. The current sign is a changeable letter sign that you may remember out in front on the Waterford. The new sign will be a marquee sign with an LED message board and have a school identification on top with the school's name and home of the North Stars and a North Star graphic. There'll be a viewing area that'll be 4 foot by 7 foot, and the entire dimension of the sign will be 10 foot by 7.25 foot. The reason I'm involved in this was to help with the RFP to have the sign built and put in place. So we put an RFP advertisement out. 14 vendors received packets. They opened up 2 sealed bids. The lowest and most responsible bid was Ad Media Signs for $32,590 with all funds being provided through MN Strong. We also have, we didn't have a graphic for the screen, but we do have a graphic for to share with the board in case you didn't get to see it in your packets. So you can see it before you vote, but what we're requesting tonight is the board approve. We're asking the board tonight approve awarding the bid to Ad Media Signs for $32,590.
I need a motion.
Someone.
I need a second. Motion's been made in second. Questions? No questions or comment. This is awesome. I mean, in the years I've been part of the district, and you see things like this happening, new signs or playground equipment or festivals or something, and there's this misconception out there that it's always the school district doing it all, and so much of that's actually through nonprofits or organizations stepping up to help out the school. So this is great. So So is this sign you'll be able to program it from within the office?
You can actually program it anywhere. So I was thinking like, you can do it live update. So if we had it now, it'd be kind of nice when we get our ice tonight. We have a snow day tomorrow. We could just.
We took him out of the schedule.
There
Nice
it
try. Any questions? Hear them? All in. What's that?
Let's raffle the old sign.
I'll just say before you do get done, I actually met with Adam, and I was really excited about not only the work they've done, but his enthusiasm, being an alumni, and then really championing something like this in the community, in McClure North, and in the entire larger North community. And I just think it's noteworthy. His work, the work of the folks at North, at really galvanizing the community to get something like this done, and it being paid for, from that organization to this tune. So I think that's pretty noteworthy. So my hats off to you, Adam.
Thank you. Lots of people involved in that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. You take credit for them all and tell them.
Thank you.
Right. Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Carrie and Laura are going to give us an update on the STEAM Academy and the construction that's taking place.
Thank you. So what we're going to do tonight is kind of give an overview of where we've been, what we're doing, and where we're going to end up, and when we're going to end up there. So kind of how did we get there? The building came about a couple of years ago, and it was recommended as a possible site for, at that time, a STEM school, not a STEAM school. And so there was a discussion. We brought in consultants, engineers, architects, to see could it work. And that was the one to determine that the first floor could be demolished, and we could put a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade STEAM school, adding the arts to the school. So then there was discussion about the rest of the building. How could we use that? Possibly additional grades up on those floors, maybe the high school, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th for a STEAM school. But then we talked about safety concerns and code concerns, different codes for schools versus office or commercial space. Cost to gut those floors and build out 4 grades, 2 on each floor. Also, you'd have 280 students, not including staff, on those 2 floors, as opposed to if we used it for office space, 135, which would change the need for the width of the stairwells that already existed and the elevator, which have to be replaced either with another additional elevator or to make that a bigger elevator to carry more weight limitations. So we turned to the idea of expanding that into using it as office space as it sits with some upgrades and having 135 people rather than 280 plus. Also, we were concerned about when you had that many students, we'd also have to expand the cafeteria and the gym as well to accommodate those additional 280 students and staff. And we did not have the space in that lower level to expand that.
For the funds, as you'll remember, we had the bond issue that we passed, that we dedicated $6 million of the bond funds to go to convert a building into a STEAM section of a building. And so to do that, we figured, well, when we looked at the cost, it was
$6 million.
right, another $6 million, which we just didn't have.
That's why she's here to keep me straight with the money. So then we looked at the admin center, and the main reason is this: the building that we sit in today has needs to be safe and to code, and we're talking about close to $35 million to upgrade it. So we saw cost savings in moving this center to the new building. Not to mention we wouldn't have to maintain this building or have as high of utility bills. We'd have one location with 2 different purposes there, saving us funds in that way as well. Not to mention all of our maintenance and utility costs with 1 building instead of 2. And on top of that, we started talking about in the back is a warehouse and some land and space. And so the facilities department, which I'm over, is located right now in a place where we have a plant, a warehouse, and an office space. And that could be accommodated in that same building. So once again, a savings with the utility maintenance costs. And on top of that, we would be able to possibly sell the existing plant and warehouse to raise funds for the district and for these projects. So with all that said, the school opened this past year, and it's a beautiful school, and it's doing really well, and people that have seen it are very happy with it, and if you have a chance, you should see it. But with that done, so we started working on the second and third floors. So at this point, we did modernize and update the elevator to bring it to code. Even for the small number, we still needed to have code and have a state inspection, which we're underway to get right now, and the elevator is completed, waiting for the state to approve it. We had to convert a restroom into an ADA restroom to accommodate, American Disability Act. We also updated our HVAC controls. We painted. We did some flooring replacement. We have a very nice training room that we use for all of our staff in the district. We updated that and did some things with the walls that had a terrible green, ugly carpet that now has nice walls. And we updated all of our can lighting to be LED. We've started updating our ceiling lighting to be LED again as a money-saving effort. We have additional emergency lighting and security alarm system installed for safety purposes, obviously, and additional exit signs, and some small plumbing and electrical repairs which have been completed. So what we have to do before we move. Right now, IT has a vendor working on cabling and doing connections, or as they call drops, for our computers and our other equipment. We also have our door entry system, which is a card reader, so that, again, talking about security, our staff at the building, including the school staff, will have access to the building through a card reader. Without an ID, you can't get in the building. It gets you in our side door, the front door, and the elevator. And then that will be controlled for a guest by a security guard at the front door. We're replacing all the locks for security purposes. New phone lines are going in. We're updating our fire doors with safety glass, so they are truly fire-rated doors in our stairwells for our safety again, and for our staff and visitors. We're also adding new dispensers in our restrooms. We have a reception desk going in on the second floor. We're updating our sprinkler system and smoke alarm system that's connected to the elevator as well. And then after that, we'll be doing some signage, directional signage, bathroom signage, and some cleaning and getting things in order once again. So after that's all completed, we'll have to do one more inspection, which we will be doing through the City of Hazelwood. It's an Oxy inspection where they look at numerous things. I won't bore you with all the different things they'll look at, but we already had a complimentary preliminary inspection, and we're on track, and we should be well done before the middle of March. So the entire project, we feel, will be completed by the end of March, and we should begin to move staff in April. And that's all I have on ships.
That's for board information, so if you have any questions for them. All right. Thank you very much. I guess you're back.
I'm still here.
You're still there.
Why is he not leaving?
Facilities assessment, right?
Yes, sir. So Dr. Davis had just mentioned that as part of our restructuring. And it's a pretty important part, and so we've been anxious to get to this and get this underway. So we advertised an RFP requesting proposals for building assessment for all of our schools throughout the entire district. We did a selection process based on the experience that they had experience with K through 12 assessment of buildings, qualifications like engineering, architect, educational knowledge, also software program that we like to use to assess our buildings in the future as well, not just for this one time, and the ability to perform all the scope of work, that they could meet a timeline and the cost that we needed to stay within. The scope of work, they will provide a database. They'll collect data, relevant information, inventory, and scoring. We'll receive that program. Afterwards, they'll give us training so that we can update it, so we won't have to have another one of these assessments in 5 years from now. We won't be standing here again talking about we need funding for more. So we'll be able to have our staff actually updating this software system, and we will know the scores, and it'll change and update as we change and update our buildings. Also has a scoring system which is called a building condition score, and also a facility condition index. So one scores the building, the other one compares those scores to the other buildings, which helps us in deciding and setting priorities. There's a building and site condition assessment, which includes conditions, suitability of the site, of the grounds, that we have efficiencies, and our technology readiness. They'll also look at student capacity, and they'll identify all the deficiencies and provide budgets for each individual site based on those deficiencies. And that rating and scoring system will help us assess each building. The update to our assessment using that software, which is important. We'll also have capacity and building use data that we'll be able to have. That will also help us with short-term and long-term planning. We'll have a third-party outside input for our restructuring plan, helping us to look at our buildings from an outside source rather than looking at it from our angle, and prioritizing all of our needs, and also for future bond budgeting and other budgeting needs. So 30 vendors actually received bid packets. 6 of those vendors submitted sealed bids. A committee of 3 of our staff reviewed these using a weighted scoring system, and based on the review by committee using the RFP requirements and scoring each submission, including the cost submitted, the most qualified, lowest, and most responsible bid was submitted by MGT of America. They've done a lot of similar work to this and have a really good background and have an excellent software system called BASIS, which is Billing Analysis System, and they provide the system afterwards and training to the staff. So that was one of the very important things to us, so we don't have to keep going out for this. So we'll be able to update our assessments and score them and keep budgets throughout the years to come. The total amount of this particular bid was $167,574. So tonight, based on all these items, we're requesting approval from the board to enter into a contract with MGT of America to perform and provide a comprehensive assessment of all of our schools.
I need a motion to enter into a contract with MGT of America.
So moved.
Motion's been made and second. Questions? So when does the assessment start? You approve it? If it
If you
gets
approve it today, we'll call them tomorrow, and they plan on starting next week. They want to get running.
And then they'll be concluded by?
The end of June. They sent us a timeline of March through June. But they want to start and meet with us and get some input from us before they even get started. By the end of June, they should have their assessment and report to us and the software to us.
And if I may add, we factored this, that completion date into the timeline for the restructuring, right? Because when we start community engagement around our schools and redistricting, restructuring, et cetera, moving into next year, having that data is going to be really, really important. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
The really important thing about MGT as well, one of the things we liked about them the most is they not only have engineers and architects that will work on this, they also have people who have an education background. They've actually been in education, so they understand systems and how schools actually work and the needs that we have.
So after their assessment's done, they create this report. Will they come and present to the board, or will they present to the community?
Both.
Okay.
They'll come to the board, present to you, get the approval, and then they'll go out and do public speaking for us. They'll go to any event we want. They'll do multiple events. They really support their work. If you go online, you can see their reports for other schools, and it's excellent.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
Thank you.
There you are. Short-term academic attendance attitude recovery program. That's a long
title. Long story. First of all, thank you, board and superintendent, for allowing me to actually talk about this particular program. This particular program is really going to be aimed at trying to recover just several things. I want to talk a little bit about just what this program, who it's designed for, and what we hope it will do for the district. First of all, we're actually targeting this program for grades 7 through 12 graders who have been suspended 1 through 10 days. What we know is that, often when students are suspended, they really miss a lot, not only a lot of instruction time, not being in front of instruction, but there's also the attendance piece as well as the attitude of why they've been suspended. Not working on those particular things is very, very important. So we know that by having programs like this, we can certainly recapture those things. One of the things we thought about in designing a program like this is that, certainly location is very, very important, and we're very fortunate in this district because we do have space. If this program is allowed, we would actually house this program here at the administration building in Building D. One of the things that this program also would do, it would also allow us to really just have students to be able to capture school assignments as well as earn attendance days, ADA, the average daily attendance, as well as, make up academic work. When they're often out, a lot of times what happens when kids return, they're behind academically. So that kind of manifests into other issues or other problems for students. So one of the things this program will provide is, alleviating that. Another piece, we hope this program will serve about 20 people, the capacity of the program, at least starting. In terms of the operation, we're still working on that, but we do know that, the high school hours as well as middle school hours, since we're going to focus on those particular two groups, we want to really kind of make sure that the program fits those particular time bookends for those particular groups of students. And no cost to the district in terms of transportation. One of the things we feel is very, very important is that if students and parents and families are going to buy into this program, they will have to provide their own transportation. One of the things I'll tell you is that parents and families, often when students are suspended, what's one of the biggest issues is, what do I do with my child when they're suspended, for 1 to 10 days? And certainly providing an atmosphere where they can get structure as well as, that social and behavioral piece would be very important. So we feel very confident that parents will more than willingly transport students as well. The other piece I'd like to just talk about real quickly, just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of having a program like this and how do you do it. The academic and social supports for a program like this is extremely important for students as well as families. I can't say enough about, recovering not only the attendance but the academic piece. And attitude. While students are suspended, often when students are suspended for short term, not long term, because long term we offer the Mark Twain Student Support Center and we're able to work on those behaviors for that student. But in short term suspensions, often those kids, you actually never get a chance to really talk to those kids and give them a lot of counseling around why they were suspended. So at that particular time in a program like this, you really could target and point at those particular pieces and actually give them some social skills. So that's extremely important. Through the use of technology, which we're very fortunate in this district to have the kind of technology department that we have, we can certainly provide the academic work for students using Google Classroom, Google Folders, where teachers can actually upload actual real-time life assignments in there, so they can be interactive with their particular student, and as well as provide those social skills for students. So we just know that these things are extremely important, as well as provide, restorative practices for students so that they don't repeat that behavior that got them suspended in the first place. So just having a short-term suspension program is certainly the way to go, in my opinion, and I hope that this is something that we are able to not only do now, but upscale in the near future.
So this is for board information only, but feel free to ask questions.
I just have one question.
Yes.
You said that it's going to be housed in the admin building, so what's the long-term plan for that, since this is probably not going to be around too much longer?
Great question. Doc, you want to take that?
You got it.
We're hoping in the future, especially after this particular year, is to move this program, at least this portion of the program, to the Mark Twain Student Support Center. My hope is that we will upscale it, and we'll need actually even more space than that. So that's what we're going to push for. We know it's definitely
Is
needed.
this something that could be integrated into the individual high schools, or is it better to have it isolated?
Yeah, excellent question. And sometimes students are engaged in some activities that they do need some time away from that particular building. So one of the things that programs like this, one of the things that they do is they actually give that student a time to actually be away from that particular their home school. So it's a little bit different from sort of like an in-school suspension program. This is a program where they're actually not in their particular, or not even on their campus. So it does send a different message.
I agree with that, yes.
So.
Thank you.
Hold on, Scott.
Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been talking on my go ahead.
So is this voluntary?
So if a student gets suspended from school, then this is an option. So they don't have to go, but if the parents choose to allow them to go, then they would provide transportation for them. So yes, is the short answer.
Right.
So what does that say about the people who opt out? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, you know, how we talk all the time, you know, whether you call it discipline or decorum, whatever word we want to use. You know, I get very frustrated at the kids who are there ready to learn and have to have their learning impeded by other students and families that choose to take a different path when we're offering just about everything we can to help.
Yeah,
And I get concerned with that. I really do, because, you know, I can see a lot of people opting out of this. I really can. And just saying, well, I come back in 5 days, I'll go back to high school. You know, I don't know. I don't know, just.
So the effort is to really reduce suspensions, right? Because that's a big issue, especially in our support with the Metropolitan Churches United and some of the other work going on in the community. So these students are already being suspended anyway for the disciplinary reasons, right? Like they are being, you know, suspended for up to 10 days, right? And during that time that they're out, then they can go over to this program, the STAR program, to recapture some of those days. We often hear from parents about, you know, I mean, what am I going to do with my child during the time of suspension? I don't want my child suspended. I need my child in school, you know. So here's an opportunity to respond to some of that, but also reducing those suspensions. So my guess is, based on the complaints I get, I don't know if there'll be a lot of people who will turn away from it, because it's an opportunity for them to be in school with us during the time they would have been suspended, right? Now,
they're not officially suspended then?
So they're officially suspended unless they go, and then they could capture those days back. So yes, they would be suspended from the school, but if they go to this program, then we have met with our data people, core data, so that we can account for those days to make sure. So it'll still be recorded as a suspension unless they show up. Because it could be that they can't go the whole 5 days, for example, if they're suspended, they can only go 3 of those days. Then what will show up on their record is they were suspended for 2 of those days, and we would account for those other 3 that they go. Okay. Now, students can't go for 2 reasons. One would be fighting, the other would be the distribution of drugs, right? Because we feel those 2 particular reasons would create a hostile environment for others, right? Especially fighting with the issue. But it really is an attempt to reduce those suspensions, especially, and it's only for grades 7 through 12, right? You know, certainly we're looking at our elementary folks, and it's lesser of those who are being suspended. It's more of our secondary ones. That's where most of the issues are. We looked at that data to see where, especially at 7th grade through 12th grade, 7th, 8th, and 9, where we have high numbers of suspensions. So we'll be able to serve up to 20 students a day at the beginning to see how to feel our way through how the program works. And my hope is that, you know, we can work our way out of even having suspension period, right? But you got to start. And this will be something that the board, you know, it endorses, that we'll be able to tout. That, you know, if suspensions work, then we'd be already at number 1. Now, when we get to number 1, I'm not saying that there won't be any suspensions, but I'm telling you that they will be reduced through efforts like these.
Okay, my questions, several. Who will cover the classroom? Will that be a certified teacher, parapro, what?
Certified teacher.
Okay, second question. Is this an evidence-based practice, or is this something that we came up with, we invented?
Evidence-based practice.
Cool.
There's quite a few research behind
Okay.
it.
Now, priority. So say for instance, we have just 30 kids that got suspended in 1 week. How would you all choose who gets to come and who doesn't? What is the priority or the waiting list look like?
We've actually created a system, and it's sort of like making a reservation. You know, if there's an opening, you certainly will get an opportunity to go into the program. Also, for those students, if there's not an opening, we'll go onto a wait list. Because it's a moving program, you know, some students will be in there for different days. Those students that are on the waiting list can be moved up. So it's a very seamless process of moving students from the waiting list up to the very active list of actually participating.
And are we partnering with any providers for mental health services for those kids?
Not yet. We have had some conversation around that though with SSD. So we are having some very, very deep conversations about, you know, how can we serve those students as well.
But you make a good point though, and I know the assistant superintendent has raised this point as well, is so what happens if Courtney is over and is using you if you were a student, and you came to the program, and we're also looking at how the work gets to, from the school, to you at the program, and if there's a lapse, then the Second Steps program and other social-emotional approaches and restorative practices. I mean, that's really important time that we have with students that we can begin to think about helping get into their heads and help them make better choices. So certainly our student services department and others, Dr. Hazel's work, Gary's work with CI3T, a lot of ways to apply some of those restorative practices during that time.
When do you hope to roll this out?
Tomorrow.
I mean, you already have a teacher in mind?
Yeah, we already got everything laid out, but we didn't want to start until the board gives the
Ready to go.
Yeah.
And you already have 20 kids?
I'm sure it will.
I
That won't.
hate to say, I think you're ready very well, man. I hope so.
We actually met with administrators, secondary administrators last week to go through some of those details. All the principals, met with us here, and we went through the program, went through the the online data portal where they would actually go on to look and see their space and put kids in, and et cetera, et cetera. So we've been working on this for a little while, and certainly there, let me just say that I'm not telling you all the bugs and kinks are worked out, but what I can tell you is that as we work through it, we'll iron out those places that are wrinkles and try to make it seamless so that we can support more students.
Again, that's just for board information.
So what's the longest? Is it 10 days?
10 days.
Yes.
A student could?
Yes, sir.
Well, I applaud you for, really trying something. I mean, this is awesome. Help attendance also.
Yes, absolutely would.
Big time.
And it'll help our money.
Well,
88.
I didn't want to make that.
Yeah, that's one of those byproducts there.
You bet.
Unintended
Oh, well.
consequences.
And now you're going to give us the parent, family, and community involvement report.
Yes. The Office of Parent and Community Engagement really has assisted families this year with parenting and child rearing skills, and I'm very happy to report. It's really about trying to enhance the relationship between families and their children in the learning process. One of the important components that my office has really worked on is really organizing and coordinating along with other partners, our community resources for services of students, family, businesses, and other groups that enrich the relationship between all stakeholders in the community. In my opinion, it's really clearly evident, that the parent and community engagement and involvement is really working in the district unlike ever before. Really being able to pinpoint direction for community and all stakeholders that may be interested in partnering as well as looking for resources. One of the things I think you can very easily measure is just the attendance at different events that we've participated in. Just to mention a few, like the Back to School Fun Festival, town hall meetings, the Parent Advisory Council, Parent Liaison events. Just very happy with the attendance and the engagement. Another one of the things I'd really like to kind of talk about is just really the partnership. One of the things that we're doing in the district this year is really trying to align all of our resources, and that's a real important part. Unlike ever before in the district, really having individuals assigned to those particular resources, contact individuals. We're partnering with SSD as well as other organizations to really spearhead and make sure that when parents and families and community people are in need of resources, that we can actually identify those and actually provide those resources for them. So very, very happy the work that we're doing. It's ongoing work. It's a lot of work. There used to be a time when someone called you, the first question you asked them, what was your child's name? That no longer exists. The first question you ask now is, how can I help you? And by the way, do you have a child in our district? And that's a different mindset. That's really about customer service now. So public education has gone that way, and that's what that's what part of my office is really all about now. That customer service to the entire community. So that's my report for parent and community engagement.
I need a motion to approve the parent, family, and community involvement report.
So moved. Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Thank you.
Yep, stay there. This is the last one.
Is that another one?
Yep. Pell.
Oh, yeah.
So they're all Pell. I just want to talk a little bit about PELP, which is Public Education Leadership Project. And the district had two wonderful opportunities to attend PELP. Our first year in PELP was 2016, and it really consisted of a board member, superintendent, and 6 other members of the district administrative team, administrators in the district. And it really was a very interesting process. You actually go to Harvard, and at Harvard, you really present a strategic problem or practice in your district, something that you really feel is very important and something that you really wanted to work on, that you felt that improvement was certainly needed. And one of the things that we focused on in this district was really the building of relationships between students and staff to ensure that instruction time can be maximized in the classroom. One of the things we took a very, very deep look, we took a look at our suspension numbers, and we realized that in 2016 that we suspended, we lost days, over 33,000 days of in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension days were lost from students in the district. And we thought, when you look at that number, and you talk about that number, we realized that, there's some things that we certainly have to do, do differently. And one of the things we realized with this problem of practice is that by building relationships, that staff, teacher, student relationship, that we could greatly reduce that. Well, we went in and did a lot of work on that, and I was happy to report after the first year of just concentrating on relationships with PBIS and CI3T, we actually reduced suspensions, in-school suspension as well as out-of-school suspensions by 14,000. Just by, now they don't tell you this, but once you get in and you start doing the work and you start peeling it apart, and everybody really gets to really look at your strategic problem of practice. So that was very fascinating. The second year, we thought about the gains that we got from building relationships. So we really started to focus on then the culture and what was the culture of our building and a systematic manner that fostered proper decorum. So that was the big strategic problem of practice, and I'm very happy to report that it's going also in the right direction. It's a lot of hard work when you start looking at strategic problems of practice, though, because you're really peeling them apart. You're trying to look at, what are the root causes. So just some of the root causes we kind of talked about a little bit at our strategic problem of practice. I want to share that real quickly. Okay. One of the things we kind of talked about is just intrinsic values of building positive relationship with all students and addressing their social and emotional needs. The other piece we looked at is discipline data as a tool to reflect on our perception about students' behavior. It's amazing, they say numbers don't lie. It's amazing sometimes you think certain things, but when you get the numbers, what you thought is actually probably not really occurring. Once you look at those numbers, it really gives you a clearer picture of what's really happening. We also took a look at the urgency around engaging discussions of implicit bias. We talked about, AP classes. One of the discussions we were having at the PELP was that, why don't we have enough students in AP? And as we talk more and more about that, we have to question ourselves, is that an implicit bias where these students can't do it? They can't get it done. And just changing that mindset, we saw immediate improvements in just students with access to AP classes. And then the other one we thought about in terms of our root causes was just engaging families and students as partners in supporting children learning. One of the most amazing things about that is that if you look at our Students Expectation Code now, we actually talk about some of those interventions of partnering with families, and that's very, very important. Some of the benefits of PELP, real quick, I thought were extremely important, was a major reduction in the number of office discipline referrals and out-of-school suspensions. Secondly, a total redesign of the Students Expectation Code, bringing consistency throughout the district. As you all know, we redesigned how we look at students, what we do to students across the district. There's no guesswork, there's no biases and things like that because it's consistent, and that's very important. And then the last piece we kind of talked about was the professional development around PBIS, including our Big Five data, pre-corrects, and our acting out cycle, and the student screening scale. All of those were huge benefits of what we got out of PELP. I believe PELP is up again for the third year. I don't know if we I'm hoping we're going to accept and we're going to have a team there again, because I can tell you the work that was done there is really priceless in terms of, you know, what you get out of it and what you bring back to your district. So I was just very, very happy to be a part of that for at least 2 years.
So typically, and I think I mentioned this last year, if you get, most of the time when you get into the rotation, it's a 3-year cycle. This is the third of that year. We got accepted. We just got the letter. I think I sent that out the other day, just got that notice the other day. So we had this for action. But the piece I think that's also important too that Gary was talking about was, and Ms. Davenport was Raymond, not Davenport. She could probably speak this better than I can, but we had some conversations with our association, and so now as a part of the evaluation tool in NEED, we use 5.3B that really focuses on those relationships, right? Like that's critical in the evaluation tool. But it's an opportunity to coach and support teachers, right? And that's the part that's going to be the game changer in classrooms. It's always about what's happening in that classroom, like what's happening between teachers and students and content. Everything else supports that. And the one thing that I know is stronger is that focus on the instructional core, right? And all the things that we do surround that. How do we support teachers? And making sure they have what they need to support kids in learning. So this is for board action for year 3.
I need a motion to send another team to Harvard for the Public Education Leadership Program.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Can I have discussion? Question?
Has anyone ever brought a student?
No. So no students from any district have been there. They have 12 districts that come, and there are 8 people from every district, so 96 people there. So those students have come, and I don't want to misspeak, but I don't think that that's a part of it, right? Because they have some other programs that many go on campus. And those students are, I don't want to say not allowed, but I don't think that's a part of this model.
Teachers haven't gone yet either, right?
For us, on our team, not yet, no.
Are you planning on sending them this time around, or is it the same team?
No. So every year is a different team. The only person who's required to go is the superintendent. Last year, we started with central office, and then we started taking principals. So we got secondary principals last year, and then this year would be elementary principals. So we're focusing on elementary principal leadership in the schools to support teachers, because you only get 8 slots.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to, so we're thinking about how do we support teachers, and the leaders, principals, are the ones who, we feel like will be strongly encouraging. Dr. Crowley got to go last year. I think it was Dr. Maxwell, Mr. Gerald. And so this year we only have 8 slots, so we won't be able to get all of them. But we'll be strategic in supporting that.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Thank you. All right. Motion to adjourn.
You did.
I was going to say, my vote on that.